So, James, Effective recently completed a piece of research with the VAB about TV's impact for brands at different stages of maturity. Tell us about some key findings and some implications you could share with us today.
Sure, Andy. Yeah. So this is the last in a series that we did called the Halo Effect, and it's really about TV's exponential impact on businesses and other marketing channels, especially on the digital side. So the premise for the study that we did with VAB was there's typically a playbook that brands use to in terms of their overall media investment, and at what point in their life stage do they bring TV into that mix? So what we wanted to find out through this study was what's the impact of accelerating that timeline and using television to drive growth earlier on in that brand life stage. So it was a huge piece of research. We looked at 190 brands, 140 were in the direct-to-consumer segment, the other 50 were in the non-DTC segment, and we split those brands into three different age groups. One was 3 years or younger, one was 4 to 7 years old, and then the last one was 8 plus. And so what we looked at was when TV was launched, what impact did it have on digital engagement, i.e. the website activity during that period and then beyond? And the results we saw were pretty amazing. On the month of that TV launch, all brands, no matter what their age, saw double-digit growth, but especially the younger brands saw the largest jump of around 23% increase in their total unique website visitors. And then when they weren't on air, there was a halo effect of TV's impact with younger brands that were able to sustain some growth through those channels, reinforcing the TV messaging. And then finally, those that were able to stay on air, that had the resources to do so, with an ongoing TV campaign, were able to see 80% growth in digital engagement while on television. So, the real takeaway for us was, doesn't matter how old the brand is, if you have the opportunity to invest in television early, you can exponentially grow your business very, very quickly. And there are obviously a whole host of reasons for that, which I'm sure we can talk about shortly.
So, tell us about D2C. That's a big category that has its roots in digital, big spend in terms of TV, different expectations that they have. Tell us about DTC, how that's developing, and maybe some insights you could share with us from the study along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Direct-to-consumer brands have obviously grown up in the digital world. Like you said, they have digital roots. I think, the playbook has been pretty tried and tested. They start with social and search and other digital channels, maybe out of home, podcasts, other channels like that. And then television is effectively their last port of call, where they believe that TV is now, accessible to them, or that they've reached that level of maturity where TV is the right timing to do that. And typically, that whole cycle, that playbook, plays out over around 8 years before a D2C brand invests in television. But more and more, we're seeing that brands are accelerating that up in their timeline and accelerating their TV investment strategies because they've seen what it's been able to do to establish brands in certain segments, and really kind of catapult again them to that next level of growth much quicker than maybe if they'd waited. So a great example of that was a study which we saw in the paper called Blueland, which is a cleaning product company, and actually they grew up through being a Shark Tank company, so they sort of understand the power of television. But they launched TV a year into their existence, and they saw 65% website traffic growth. So they knew television could be that kind of that moment for them to really establish themselves as a household name, which TV has that ability to be able to do. The other interesting thing is obviously we're in this current environment. Now is the time for challenger brands to take the opportunity to establish themselves as choices for consumers. Those brands that have obviously built their businesses off of the back of physical retailing, some of them have had to pull back. Due to restrictions, people haven't been able to visit stores as much, and they pull back on their marketing a little bit in some places. This is a great opportunity for obviously for D2C brands to move on in, opportunity for them to build mind share, opportunity to build market share in the long run. And again, with that sustained strategy, there's an opportunity to continue to build on that growth. And so again, those that were able to continue with a TV investment after launch, we saw that huge growth of 80% of unique visitors going to those websites. So it's really important, I think, now more than ever, for these brands to take advantage of what television can offer for them.
So James, so what about other brands who have yet to invest in TV? What's your message to them?
So TV is more accessible and addressable than ever before, and we really don't need the huge budgets that I think some people think you need to be able to get into television. Because of that accessibility, because targeting is possible, it's really a great time to do test and learn. Really, to start out with some basic messaging, assess how it goes, build on that, and continue to sort of use real-time optimization to focus on the areas that are working well. The other piece I'll say is attribution has never been stronger in terms of television. So the opportunity to really understand, how is that television campaign working for my business? Where do I need to focus my efforts going forwards? And I think that the measurement side of things has really improved to the point at which those brands who've grown up in the digital space or have yet to embrace television are really able to see the ROI very quickly and can then adjust their strategies as a result. The other thing I'll say is, TV can really catapult a brand into being a household name much quicker than any other channel. I think it's a legitimizer in the consumer's mind, in that if it's on television, it means that it's reached some level of maturity, that its products and its services are in a good place, enough to be able to meet that demand. And that's the final thing. TV works. And so if a brand isn't ready to manage and meet the demand that a TV campaign can generate, then obviously that's going to be a challenge. But we've seen time and time again, brands who are ready to and have invested in infrastructure, invested in service levels, and the inventory and supply that they need to beat that demand will hugely benefit from what television can offer them.